water leakage or something like that. But you guys can look at it for yourself. I sent it to, Huey, and I sent it to Steve to watch, because I had never watched it. And the video is very clear, it's very helpful, and it tells you how much each constituent can qualify for. And based on the video, they can qualify for $20 a month for 12 consecutive months at $300 a year. And so I just thought that it was interesting. I was just looking at it to see what it does and how the program is rolled out in other municipalities that's already doing it. And so when I saw that, and I think I sent it to Mr. Winfrey, I don't like to bombard you guys with emails. I just figured that if, I'm just trying to help out. And so if you look at it though, there was a pot of money that could help them with up to $1,000 if they meet the income requirements, which I might add is pretty low. It seems like even the income requirement looked as though, well, it is under the poverty, because you have to be 150% under the poverty level. So if you guys get a chance, just look at it, because maybe that might be a benefit to our constituents as well. 1,000 over in the RAP, and maybe something over in the Rich Beard pot that they're talking about. So I just wanted to bring that up.
And that's one of the benefits of the hearing, when you have people come and put this official stuff on the record as to how money's gonna flow. That's exactly what we want them to do in a public arena. Mr. Griggs?
I want to look at some excavation going on in Ward One. I know they're not checking inside to make sure the city's copper before they dig.
Say that again, you sure it ain't that way?
They're not checking inside the house before they start digging to verify there's copper or not copper coming into the house.
In some cases, maybe, but in some
Well,
cases they are.
I thought, if I remember correctly, there was a law in 1955 that said homes built in 1955 and up shall have copper lines. And those homes in that area looked to me like they were probably like 1955 and later homes. So it didn't make sense to me why they're not checking the copper line inside the house first. And it just looked like a lot of senseless, high-dollar digging.
Let's look at this position, and then you can continue.
Right.
If you got houses that was built a certain time, one of the things we found out early stages of the water crisis, that all records wasn't accurate. And if all records ain't accurate, if you out there and got money, you might as well check. Now, if it's costing $3,500 or $4,000 or whatever to replace a service line, and you spend $1,600 or whatever to check all sides, you're still out of less than $5,000 per home. Now, the question is, if you in some areas and zones like zone 3 and 4 in the first ward, as you said, and you got a lot of copper, that 6,000 that you thought you might find lead and galvanized at the beginning of phase 5, you might only be at 700 or 1,000. You might not be finding enough lead and galvanized. So we gotta spend that money. I hear what you're saying, but my question to you, Mr. Griggs, should we check and be safe rather than sorry, or just go with the records?
Yeah, we should at least step inside the.
Point of information, is Mr. Griggs and Mr. Mays aware that there is a special order on government ops to discuss the issue of hydrovacking?
Oh, yeah, we know, we was just letting that conversation flow.
Well, in order to
as
keep
it
things.
related to Mr. Guerra's motion to table.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Griggs don't hardly mess with nobody, let him continue and we'll get.
Over a week ago, I sent an email to, I believe her name is Pamela Hughes, our medical administrator. I'm not sure that's the title.
Well, she the health advisor type.
Okay.
What's her proper name, Miss Chief Public Health Advisor for the city?
I sent her an email and asked her to tell me how many deaths were attributed to lead in the water. Plus, if they are, I want to see the autopsy report.
Well, that Legionnaire stuff is in court. I'll tell you what, we'll circle back on it. Who had the floor next, Miss Worthing?
Going back.
We'll come back to that, Mr.
Going back to, before we, yeah, thank you, Gary.
I don't think nobody know the number, Mr. Griggs.
Bring it up off the table.
When we did this investigative hearing, it was not, specifically finance. I know speaking about it and getting ready for it was in your committee, but the hearing itself, we didn't specify when or who was doing it. So I think the motion that was on the floor was proper and should be voted on,
Right.
today.
It might very well get voted upon, but Ms. Worthing, I'm gonna go a step further. You think you sure it wasn't finance? I'm gonna go a step further and tell you I know for sure it was finance. That's what I'm gonna tell you. Now, I'm telling you because it was more than one talk and vote about it. And so believe me, it ain't gonna make no difference one way or another, as long as the quality of the work get done. And so folks who wanna bicker and, don't pat me on the back and say you're doing fine and then stick a dagger in my front of my chest with some mess. I'm not,
They'll know what they need to do, so
so
they can look at that
Ms.
video.
Galloway, where is you getting that information from? What source? Is it a Great Lakes water source? Is it the state or
It's
the
the
who?
it's the GLEWA, Great Lakes Water Authority website.
Okay,
And when you click on there, there's a RAT site.
so
And
I
when you
don't know.
click the RAT site, the video kicks you to, and it walks you through, the guy is talking to you, he's showing you.
Talk, they wanted to only go 1,000 per household, and we never agreed to that, because some people had 3, 4, 5, 6,000 of back estimated bills. Look, we tabled for, Mr. Gerstein, we back on the discussion, hopefully, of this motion, and, Ms. Fields and then Ms. Galloway.
I had missed some hearing. Then the next thing is, I would like to ask Mr. Winfrey, because he has me perplexed. I discussed this item with Mr. Winfrey, not more than a few days ago. And Mr. Winfrey said he was in agreement with me, that he felt that this issue should be a special city council meeting. And as such, he would be chairing it. So obviously, he's changed his mind, and I'm just curious why you've changed your mind.
Mr. Winfrey? Yeah, I guess it drew me.
There seems to be some, and when you ask me that question, and just looking back at it in retrospect, there seems to be some ambiguity. Because the conversation that we're talking about, yes, we did talk, but I thought that you said that this should be a special city council meeting. So in my mind, there seems to be some ambiguity as to whether you knew that it was going to be a special city council meeting or a special finance committee meeting, because the way you framed the question, you said to me, I think this should be a special city council meeting. I want you to, chair the meeting. I said, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. So, when you said that, I think it should be a special city council meeting. In my mind, I'm wondering now if you had heard that it was supposed to be something else. Because when I say something else, I mean a special finance committee. Because I think that was, when we started the discussion, it was about and in a finance committee. So I didn't change my mind.
Let me say
I
this.
still agree, if it's a special city council meeting, yeah.
As you get ready to proceed, Ms. Fields, I'm gonna say this. If it turns out to be a special city council meeting, look how many questions I can ask. We gonna get to the time where we gonna show how council people ask questions. It ain't a big deal as long as it's done in a quality, good manner. But it's a big deal when I have to hear myself being bashed in order to get there. Proceed, Ms. Fields.
I'm just gonna preface this by saying, I'm sorry you perceive this as being bashed. I basically was stating some facts about what has occurred in previous meetings. And I think videotape, documentation would prove that what I'm saying is fact, okay? I believe that investigative hearing is a major thing for a city council to be doing. And as such, I believe it should be led by the person that we all voted a year ago to represent us in our leadership, which is the president of the city council. I think it's very important that this hearing is seen in that manner. And I'm sorry, Mr. Winfrey, that somehow you took what I said to mean something other than what I meant it to say, okay? And what I meant was, I thought I was asking you, do you agree with me? This needs to be a special city council meeting. And I did mention to you that the reason I was asking you this question was because Mr. Mays, I had heard him in another meeting make reference to something about how he was gonna chair this investigative hearing.
Right.
And it triggered something in my mind was, well, no, the finance chair wouldn't be chairing this. It would be a special city council meeting chaired by the president of city council.
But isn't,
You okay, go ahead, Mr. Winfrey. That's not what was just read to you. It can be any of its committees and/or a meeting of the council. Proceed, go ahead,
I
Mr.
guess in
Winfrey.
my mind, Councilwoman, I was wondering if it would be the pleasure of this body to decide what kind of meeting. Because when you said to me, I wasn't sure that you knew whether it was going to be a special city council. I know you said.
Winfrey, go ahead.
When you listen to what Councilwoman Galloway said, those are some really good probing questions that we need answers. Councilman Briggs, Councilwoman Williams, Councilman Keith, Councilman Miller. Those are the critical issues that we need answers to. Not this going back and forth. We spend too much time and stuff in my mind that we don't have no business spending time.
Well, I don't think we're gonna get bogged down on Ms. Fields. You
I'd like
know
to call the
my
question.
Hold up, no, you ain't getting called for the floor. I'm looking at Mr. Griggs. I'm just letting you know if I operated under the rules of one talk, two talk, this talk would have been over. I'm very familiar with that.
We've
Go
already-
ahead, Mr.
We've already
Griggs.
invested 40 minutes into this topic. And that's enough. I agree with the calling question.
Now, you had the proper flow to call the question, so the question has been called. Is there support for the call of the question,
Support.
Ms. Fields? So the question has been called. This is the vote. If you vote yes, this will be done in a special council meeting. If you vote no, then we're gonna proceed like we had in a finance committee meeting. Now, that's if we call for the vote, but Mr. Griggs, even though you called for the question, the chair had previously stated it ain't been no reconsideration on the motion. I'm already telling you 100% what the motion was. Now, if we start throwing motions out and we don't deal with reconsideration,
Point of information,
yes.
call for the question,
If I rule that it's a proper motion on the floor, remember, I'm about to rule whether or not you can put a motion and we ain't reconsidered the other. That's very important. And so, you're right, Ms. Galloway, unless I'm finna rule that the motion was out of order because there's been no reconsideration, but that could open up a can of worms. But I'm just telling you, watch your record.
point of information.
Let's see how this vote go, but it's an improper move, it's an
Point of
improper,
information.
yes.
Councilman Mays, did you not respond when Councilman Griggs made
To
the?
call for the
You
question.
said that
That's
was
correct.
proper.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm trying to understand.
And so I repeated the motion. I'm reluctant to rule on what I know is proper because we get bogged down to appeal, so I'm gonna go. The call for the question is on. A yes is one. You familiar with what's being discussed, and a no is the other. All in favor of the motion raise your hand.
To call for the question.
Yeah, I forgot. To call for the question, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, the motion calls for the question passes, and the vote would be 8-0 for the call for the question. Now, I count 8. No, I'm saying, look, she ain't counting herself. How many you counted today? It's 8. You did nobody vote no?
Yeah.
Santino isn't here.
You voted no for the call for the question?
What? No,
See,
no.
see, all in favor of the call of the question, raise your hand. See,
Yeah,
8.
I raised my hand.
I'm the one that raised my hand, but I didn't say nothing, so it, you know.
I
Okay,
raised
so
my
now
hand.
we on the motion. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Restate the motion, please.
I will restate the motion.
I will
If you
like.
wanna, your motion was that we have this under a special meeting in which Mr. Winfrey chairs. That's the specific nature of your motion.
Correct.
All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstain. Okay, the motion fails. Now we got 5 minutes to talk about what
Mr.
we
Chair?
had started to talk about.
Mr.
I'll
Chair?
recognize you in just a second.
Point of order. Point
What's
of
your
order.
point?
Point of
Don't
order,
use it
I
to
don't
take
believe
the
in
floor.
abstention. There's no personal conflict
Miss-
where you would benefit.
Miss,
It's-
Madam,
abstention is
Madam
not
Fields,
correct.
we finna move this meeting along. We got 5 meetings, 5 minutes, and we gonna adjourn and go to the regular order.
I too believe that it was agreed that it would be a special council meeting. So if that wasn't the direction that we were voting on, I don't wanna, you know.
Let's move forward and
That
say,
isn't a correct, you can't abstain for that reason. You can only abstain if there's
Ms.
a
Fields.
personal conflict where you will benefit
Ms. Fields, that's
financially.
not the only reason you can abstain. So let's move forward. We got 5 minutes, and this was the goal of this meeting. Ms. Fields, one, you had good questions and good names. We don't care who works to come up with questions and names of people being called in. We'll prioritize and vote on them, and we'll deal with that. But the question is this: when? If you look at how long ago the motion passed, now, Mr. Branch, you might know the answer to this. This past week, I think, August 20th or 26th about, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this special meeting of the Finance Committee and go into the regular meeting. Mr. Winfrey.
Move that we run this, special finance committee meeting to wait for our regular finance committee.
Is there support?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Winfrey Carter.
I support that motion.
So it's been a motion made to adjourn the special finance committee meeting, the discussion of the proposed water hearings, and go into the regular finance committee meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? This meeting, special meeting of finance is so adjourned. Do y'all need a break before we go into regular finance?
Yes, I'd like a 10-minute break, please.
A 10-minute, can we compromise for 5? Or do y'all wanna keep rolling?
Mr. Griggs?
Keep rolling, 8,
Eight.
7, 6? Okay, we'll compromise for 6 or 7,
Mr.
just,
Griggs?
Go ahead.
we
Mr.
take a,
Griggs.
we won't call it the order till after this, ask
Will you
for a
wheel me
break.
down?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I didn't say I couldn't keep rolling, I'm a thoroughbred,
Go ahead.
I could keep rolling.